Hello everyone, this is Greg from ChemCore. If you've been watching my MCAT video series, this is the third part out of 3 talking about the MCAT. In this video, I'm going to be talking about my test day and giving you a story about how I went about taking the test and giving some do's and don'ts coming out of it. And if you're looking for any of the other tips, including the general structure of the MCAT, as well as my tips on studying for the MCAT from content review to practice, they're all in the previous videos of this series. My MCAT studying took about 3 months of hardcore studying because I was on a time crunch with my program. I was just not given the amount of time that I needed to take the MCAT. It worked out all in the end, so it's okay. But I was given 2 opportunities to take the MCAT over 2 months, and so I took them. So I took the exam 2 times. Somehow, even though I had 4 weeks in between, I got the same score on both exams. I got different splits. It's very unlikely to get the same split both times in a row. But going through this experience, I can tell you some of the things that I did wrong on my first time taking the exam that I fixed on my second time taking the exam, and anything that in general I really suggest or don't suggest. When you're registering for your exam, it might seem a little difficult to register one. You have to realize that people all over the country and in your state and even internationally are coming to take the MCAT. There's only a limited amount of places that you can take it. Luckily for me, I live in New York City, and so there's tons of test sites that I could choose from, both in my borough and other boroughs. If you're living in kind of an isolated area of the country, it might be a little bit more difficult to find a test site. You might have to do a little bit of a road trip. Even if you live in an area with a lot of test sites, these test sites are taken up pretty quickly. They don't actually support a lot of students. There's only like 20 to 30 students per test site per day. If you decide to sign up for an exam, not so far in the future, you might have difficulty finding an exam site. There's an option in which the AAMC can notify you, depending on the test sites that you selected, when there's an opening in that test site. And so when I was signing up for my second exam, I ended up having to do that. And pretty much every day there would be an opening for a test site, and you just have to keep an eye out on your email and really just snag that spot as quick as possible. But you can get a test site if it's not that far out. When it comes to preparing the last week before your exam, there's a couple things that I did that I really suggest, that I think I did right. And I really suggest this for pretty much any person taking not even just the MCAT, for any other really big exam. The week before your exam, you should be studying the same way that you've been studying. That's my opinion. I think if you're changing anything, it kind of puts you off course and maybe puts you out of your routine. However, you should adjust the day before your exam. The day before your exam, I really don't suggest studying at all, maybe. I did still study, but I only just did my Anki for the day and then left it off that. If you feel like studying the day before your exam, maybe study till noon and then stop. Don't rot in bed the rest of the day. That's probably the opposite of what you should do. I really suggest just go about your day, maybe go exercise, do what you usually would do. Run some errands, go hang out with your friends. Just don't stay out too super late, and I'll get to that in a bit. For me, I did my Anki for the day. I finished by about 10 o'clock in the morning, and then the rest of the day I was just going about pretending that I didn't have the exam the next day. I wasn't rotting in bed, and I wasn't on my phone that much. I was just doing some errands, including getting food for the next day and supplies and anything that I might need, as well as just, doing some errands for my family and some other things that I needed to do. The night before your exam, it might be really difficult to fall asleep because of the nerves. I know for me, whenever I have a big exam coming up, it normally takes me about 2 to 3 hours to fall asleep. And so if you're like me, I suggest to head to bed literally 2 to 3 hours before you usually would. If you usually go to sleep at 12, get in your bed around 10 or 9. Like, I really suggest it. You're probably going to have a hard time falling asleep. And so because of that, if you're just in bed for a long time, eventually you will, and you will fall asleep. Once you go to sleep for the night, don't touch your phone or any electronics. Don't touch anything that, might disrupt your sleep schedule. I really don't suggest it because, your phones and the blue light always keeps you up, and it's just never a good idea. The morning of, a lot of people, when not only just taking the MCAT, but some of my students, younger students taking big exams like the SAT, will have a completely different routine for their exam days. I don't suggest it. Do everything that you usually would. If you're a coffee drinker, drink your morning coffee. If you're not a coffee drinker, today's not the day to find out. If you like eating breakfast every morning, eat breakfast. Eat your normal breakfast. If you don't like eating breakfast in the morning, don't. People say you must eat breakfast in the morning before an exam. Listen, if you don't eat breakfast and you've been doing that for a very long time, don't start eating breakfast. It puts your whole body out of routine, puts your whole body out of whack. Don't do anything that you usually wouldn't. That's like my number one rule. For example, I'm a big coffee drinker and I love breakfast. And so I did both, right? I had my breakfast and I had my coffee. And I went about my day and nothing wrong happened, right? If I wasn't a coffee drinker and I had a coffee, suddenly my stomach is going wrong. Or if I'm a non-breakfast eater and I started eating breakfast just because I had an exam, suddenly you're not feeling too good during your exam because you usually don't eat breakfast. And so do everything that you usually would. If you take a shower in the morning, take a shower. If you don't take a shower. If you like listening to music or going for a run, go for a run. Now, this next tip will mainly pertain to people in large urban areas like me. If you are in New York City or any other large city, this might be really relatable to you. When you're going to your exam in the morning, I don't suggest driving. I have this thing where I feel like it's bad luck that if I drive, something bad is going to happen right before I have to take my exam. If you have a parent or a friend that can drive you to your exam, I really suggest to do that. If not, don't take public transportation if possible. You know, I understand a lot of people have a lot of different situations that they're in, but if you can absolutely avoid it, I suggest you do. If you can call like a taxi or an Uber, if you have the ability to do that, I really suggest to do so. It'll take a lot of ease off your mind. The reason why I don't want to drive is, especially if you're in New York City, I remember my test site was in like a really busy area around Atlantic Avenue. So for my Brooklyn people, you know. When I got there, my dad drove me to the exam and it was the best decision I ever made in my life. Because as I was walking into the test center, I realized that there was absolutely no parking anywhere. And I would be absolutely stressed just trying to find parking in the morning right before my test. And it's not a good idea. When you walk into your test center, you might be confused. Don't worry. Pretty much everybody is. Everybody's nervous. Everybody's confused just as much as you are. You're going to see a large group of people that are obviously coming to take their MCAT. Stick by them because you're all going to be allowed together. Eventually, you're probably going to be stuck in the lobby of the building, like I was both times I took the MCAT. Eventually, you're going to be allowed to go up. It's not in your control. When you get into the lobby, for most cases, I think all the test centers require this. You're going to have to come to whoever's at the lobby and give your ID and sign in. And so please don't forget your wallet and your some sort of state or national identification, whether it's a passport or a driver's license. You need some sort of identification. Eventually, you're going to be allowed up, in which you're going to be in kind of like a lobby area of a test center. There's going to be some people at a counter, and they're going to ask you up, and you're going to give some information to them. They'll also give you a bag, like a plastic bag. You're going to shut your phone off in front of them and put it in a bag. You'll then seal it into like this white plastic bag, and then they're going to put it in the locker. You are absolutely not allowed to touch that bag during the exam. I mean, if you had like a fruit or some food stuck under it and you like pulled it out to get the food out, it's completely understandable. But don't even give them the suspicion that you're trying to cheat. Don't do it. Don't play around with the rules. They're very strict about it for a good reason. Now, you'll probably get a number after, giving your phone and getting all set up. You're going to be allowed into the room. Before you're allowed into the room, there's a proctor who who watches all the cameras and stuff and watches each student. Before walking in and out of the test room, every time you will have to like kind of show your pockets and kind of pat yourself down and even show behind and in your ears. The security issue because of that. And so my number one tip when you're walking into that little room to take the test is, if there's ability to choose a seat and if there are open seats, so take the furthest one from the door. The reason for that is, if you take the one furthest from the door and if you're not a headphone wearer and you don't like headphones and you're taking it without headphones, you will kind of hear the clicking and clacking all over the room. Eventually you tune it out. The one thing you don't tune out is people constantly walking in and walking out, and it's really distracting. And so if you can sit as far away as possible from people from the door, it really does make a difference. Now, that whole checking in and checking out of that test room does cause an issue. I brought this up a little bit in the first video when I talked about the breaks that you have for the exam. If you're not sure how the breaks are scheduled, between the 3 sections you have 10 minutes, then 30 minutes, and then 10 minutes. Now the problem is that they are technically 10, 30, and 10-minute breaks. The problem is, by the time you walk out of the room, check yourself out, so open your pockets, you walk out, and you get to wherever the lobby area is, and you can kind of like sit there and chill. That's already like 1 to 2 minutes past. And by the time you get back to check in, and again, empty your pockets, make sure everything is clear, and you get to that table, another minute to 2 minutes would have passed. And so your 10-minute breaks might seem more like 8-minute breaks, and your 30-minute breaks might be more like 26 to 28-minute breaks. And so you really do have to be careful. Another thing is that they don't track your breaks for you. As soon as you finish a section, there will be a clock in the room or right outside. As you're walking out and you're checking in, checking out, start looking for a clock. You can't touch your phone, and if you have to, ask the person at the front to give you the time. As soon as you walk out, as soon as possible, you need to get the time and keep an eye on it. There has to be a clock in the lobby area for sure. And so as you're kind of sitting and taking a break, keep your eyes on the clock. They won't notify you when your break is over. Between your breaks, what do? I think you should clear your mind. You're sitting the entire time, and so what I like to do is just pace around. Trust me, nobody thinks you're weird. Everybody does it. Everybody's minding their own business. Nobody's looking at you and judging you. I really suggest to drink some water because you're not going to be allowed to drink water during the actual exam. I also suggest to have a snack. Now, I'm a big caffeine addict. I love my energy drinks and I love my Red Bulls. The one mistake I made before my test was after the car section during my long break, I drank an entire Red Bull, an entire can of Red Bull. My biochem section was me entire time kind of like shaking my legs, and I couldn't wait to go to the bathroom. I never made that mistake again. If you're a caffeine or energy drink lover, I completely understand. I'm just like you. Take your energy drink, but don't drink the entire thing during any of the breaks. Split it up, take tiny sips. I think you should try to make that can last for like kind of all the breaks. Don't drink it in one sitting, because it'll absolutely ruin your next section. It's going to ruin it for you. I also suggest not to eat, don't have a full meal, but have a little bite. For my entire life, for exam days and big exam days, I've always stuck to fruits, nuts, and chocolate, and I think that's amazing. I think you shouldn't really have anything super fatty or super proteiny. I think you really need something sugary. I really like apricots for my fruit choice because it's really small and you can kind of like split it open and it doesn't leave that much of a mess. Apples, kind of you have to hold it in your whole hand, gets kind of sticky and it's a little weird. If you're going to have chocolate, I really suggest dark chocolate, and nuts are a great option. I absolutely love nuts when I'm taking exams. Now, even though you might not necessarily feel like you need to go to the bathroom, I really suggest, no matter what, between your breaks, go to the bathroom. Especially during your 10-minute breaks, the first thing you should really do is go to the bathroom. And during your 30-minute break, what I really suggest is go to the bathroom as soon as you walk out and right before you plan to walk back in. It's not going to hurt you to go to the bathroom a little bit more, okay? The other thing that I really suggest is, if you can, keep an eye on the check-in area of the room that you're going to be going into. I remember on my 30-minute break, I checked on it and I saw 5 people in line to get into the check-in center, and there were like 5 minutes left on my break. And so I instantly got up and just got into line to check back in, and I ended up getting there just in time. And so it's usually a really big issue. Some people, plan out their break perfectly, but once they get to the check-in area, there's like 3 or 4 people in front of them, and they end up being late. As soon as your break is over, the test begins, okay? And as soon as you sit down, even if you might have more break available, they start the test for you. And so you kind of want to take as much time as possible, but you also don't want to come too late. Now, during your test, I'm one of these people, I get like flashes of self-doubt. I get like a bad section or a bad passage, and suddenly I'm just completely psyched out and completely like I don't want to take the test anymore. I'm just like not in the mood anymore. The tip that I have to give you is each section is graded independently. If you have been studying for a while and you think that the section was really hard, chances are so do other people. There's a good chance that just as everybody else, just as much as you, think that section was difficult. And so between each section, as you're on the break, get yourself in the mindset of clearing out that exam from your head. If you're watching this kind of a long time before you have to take the exam, and you still have time to take practice exams, I really suggest going through that process. During your breaks, as you're practicing, as you're doing full lengths, walk out of the room, kind of imagine yourself, okay, this is not one big full test, this is 4 small mini tests, okay? If you feel that Chem Phys went horribly, it's okay. That's just 1 test out of 4, right? Next up is cars. That's the next thing that we have to focus on. Now, if that went better, great. Because most of the time you end up overthinking it, and because the section was hard, they understand that it was hard and they planned on it, and so they end up scaling you up. And so you stressing out about the section that you just did that you can't even go back to will kind of ruin your mindset for the entire remaining test. Now, one thing that you might not expect is after you're done with Psych Soc, so your last section, there might be some survey that you have to fill out. You don't have to fill it out, you could just skip through the rest. Remember, I was like sitting there so intently, like actually writing down my own thoughts. If you don't have an issue with the exam, just move on. Now, during the actual exam, I haven't had this luckily. I know people that have. You might come into some technical difficulties. Your computer might shut down. The test might freeze. Don't worry, don't stress out. The people administering the exam are able to fix the issue most of the time. Now, if they're not able to fix the issue and it's, a more serious issue maybe with the computer or the software, I think that they will reschedule you to another time. I'm not exactly sure. I don't know exactly how it works, but I hope it doesn't happen to you. I'm fingers crossed. Now, my tips are mostly for when you walk out of the exam. If you're not planning to take another exam, take some time off. Chill, enjoy life, enjoy fresh air, enjoy some grass. And if you're planning to study again for another exam, as I wasn't planning to take one. The first test, I kind of kept it in my mind that it was like a trial run. So I was already planning on taking a second test. Take a little time off, maybe a day or two, and then get back into studying. I don't suggest taking a full length the week that you took the exam. But no matter that, when you walk out of the exam, I really suggest to try to stay away from Reddit, the thread about your exam. As soon as you walk out, there probably will be a thread about the exam that you just took and other people discussing the questions on the test. Honestly, for your mental health sake, stay away from it. I remember that there were questions, as soon as people started mentioning them, I realized what I got wrong and everything, that I did wrong. And it makes you think that you completely bombed it when you probably didn't. There's no good that comes out of checking your answers with other people. Besides, you don't even know if they're right. You know what I mean? They don't have the answers. That's what they wrote. That's what they think. And so in general, I really suggest to ignore it, pretend it's not there. Try not to look at it as much as possible. This is the last video of my MCAT video series. If there's any more concerns or things, you can always reach out, leave some comments in the comment section below, and I'll always try to reply and leave my thoughts to you. In my description, as well as on my website, you'll have a link to a bunch of resources and notes that are handwritten by me and other resources that are available that I've been talking about in this video series. And so if you're having trouble finding the resources that I've been talking about, I really suggest to go, look at the resources page on the MCAT section of my website. I wish you guys the absolute best. You guys deserve all of the good fortune that's coming your way. Work hard, study hard, and I'll see you guys in the next video.